And we are live. Happy Tuesday, everybody. On your way in, if you don't mind, please see if you hit that thumbs up. And then if you want to share this out, I think we're going to have some new friends in the chat today, and maybe you guys could bring in some more. And this is the Dr. Nick's Amazing Man Stuff YouTube channel. My name's Dancy Bearded. I love beard stuff, and this is a stream that is birthed in beards, but has become anything you want it to be. And that is, again, the Doctor's Orders live stream, episode 125. Whoo! Now, I am the co host here. So, again, to have a co host, you got to have somebody else hosting with you. One of the people, shout out down in the trenches today, Miss Jill Phelps, who you guys saw in the chat last night at Command's Corner, filling orders like crazy, managing this, grabbing that package, making sure all these products are ready to go. So shout out to Jill, shout out to Shelly when she's in doing her thing. And, of course, the man next to us, who I believe did stay up the entire time last night, even though he probably should have went to sleep and was needing some sleep, but he knew it. The vibes were too much to overcome and stayed up the whole time. This is the founder, the co-owner. The man is whipping up a plan. 2025 is the year. And again, and we'll see. Maybe, possibly world champion. Who knows? We'll hear from Nick today to see if Pittsburgh is a possibility, because someone did ask in the chat last night if this man would be going to Worlds. Please help me welcome, and some of you for the first time getting to know and see, please help me welcome Mr. Nick Phelps, a.k.a. the Doctor himself. Nick, how you doing, man?
Dude, doing good, man. After staying up, I did stay up the whole time, but after staying up the whole time last night, watching Command's Corner, hearing everything floating around there, I don't know how it could be doing anything but good. It's just
Awesome.
words of support and encouragement. And it's like every 3 months we get to revitalize our motivation to keep things moving.
Oh, no doubt. Now, is that the blacked out hat?
It is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, when you're out and about, whether it's your hat or hoodie or anything else, do you ever get comments like, dude, that's a sweet logo, or I love that branding right there, from people that don't know that it's your company?
Yeah, a lot. And it actually, that's one of the reasons I had to start carrying, I had to make sure I had business cards like in my truck and in my laptop bag, because that would happen a ton. People would just come up and ask what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what's your go-to? Because we talked about it. If people comment on your beard, how do you segue into the company? When they comment on the logo, which is even more direct, what's your thought? Like, somebody comes up, hey, dude, I love that logo. What's that? How do
You
you hit
know,
them?
it's basically, it's funny because a lot of time people will say, what is that logo?
Yeah.
Or oddly enough, the weird one I get asked a lot is what the shape under the logo is.
Really? The filigree or whatever you call it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's super duper strange. It's like, and so people will literally ask about like what the design element is more than they'll ask like what the logo is. That's what I
Huh.
get the most. And I'm
Interesting.
usually like, oh, that's just a little emblem around the skull, just a logo.
Yeah. Interesting. Your mom even said the same thing. She said people are so curious.
Yeah, yeah, they are. It's really, it's funny. I mean, hey, it's one of those ones where that's why I kind of like the branding without any of the names, because it almost it leads
Yeah.
to more conversation for sure.
Right. And then do you just land to say, well, it's actually my company, and
Yeah.
Dr. Nick's. We make grooming products for men.
That's it. We say
Nice.
we make men's. Well, it's kind of funny now. I just say we make grooming products
Right.
because
I know.
it,
I when I said it, I was like, that's not right.
no, and then people ask, and I'm like, well, actually, it's almost equal amount of our people have partners that are. It's like people's wives are stealing stuff out of the shower.
Yeah.
People are using it more than them. They're using butter for more than just beards, obviously, right? So it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting in the sense that it's how I answer that question also kind of has changed.
Yeah, and since we do have some new friends and people to the stream in here today, inevitably, Bucky says, I get a voodoo vibe. Do you want to hit on the kind of the origins, the witch doctor type aspect to Dr. Nick's, and kind of how that fits with the name and the theming of the company?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. So like we originally wanted it to kind of be one of those things where it was kind of witch doctor feeling, you know? That was sort of the goal.
Yeah.
So when people see that, I think that's kind of, we want it to be kind of voodoo, kind of witch doctory, kind of thing. That's sort of what we originally went for with like the apothecary stuff that we kind of had, that was sort of a lot of the initial styling was kind of apothecary, but also sort of we wanted kind of like if you thought about A Thousand Ways to Die in the West, like that old comedy about like the Wild
Yeah.
West, how everything was kind of half witch doctory, half old West, kind of
Yeah.
half, that was sort of the original vibe. So I'm glad you get that because that's the little skull very much was sort of the witch doctor sort of a vibe in the beginning.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can see that. And I was just actually going to ask our friend JB just last week had surgery. And I believe it was actually exactly a week ago. And he said, I'm doing a little better each day, ready to get back to normal eventually. Okay. Yeah. Well, good, man. It sounds like everything's kind of going part of the course and how it's playing out. So it doesn't sound like any bad setbacks. So I'm glad to hear that. That's good to know, man. And hopefully everybody, hey, let's do this. We did it last night, but today I think's even more extreme. If everybody pulls out their weather app or opens their phone or their watch, what is the feels like temperature in Fahrenheit for you right now? For my city, it is -12 right now. Feels like at this moment, not last night,
I'm
not the
looking
lowest.
right. So
Yeah,
last night was -9 or was a 9 degree feels like. And now it feels like 10.
okay, yeah,
And I'm looking now. Yeah, and it's just going to get colder. I mean, like if we look at it here, like the lows, I mean, dear goodness, it's over the next couple of days. Like today we have a low of 5. Well, today's low of 5, tomorrow's low of 9. So it's actually warming up a little bit come later in the week.
see,
Where are you guys at now?
So yeah, we are right now at a natural 5, feels like -12. And our lowest today was -5. Our lowest tomorrow is -6. So we're still going.
Dear goodness, man. I
Yeah.
don't know what's coming. I don't know what's coming our way, but we don't show anything in the forecast from now until later next week that gets any colder than 10,
Okay.
which
Okay.
is, I'll take it.
Thanks, Leo. Adjusted there. Yeah, it's I'm this this is where it hurts. This is the painful cold. Like, and I mean that, not even being funny or cliche. This is where it actually hurts. And so I'm ready to be over the hurt. I can do winter, I can do the cold, I can do the snow. I just don't like when it really, really, really hurts.
Dude, I mean, speaking of hurt, I mean, it hurts your face. You know what's
Yeah.
weird too? Like, I ended up recently, and it's not recently, I guess over the past like couple of years. It's really weird. And it started happening, I guess, if I had to really think about it after I went through and lost a bunch of weight, probably back in like 2020,
Oh yeah.
between 2018 and 2020. And whenever I got cold, I'd start getting like this shiver. And so what's really weird is it started off where it would be like when I get in my car or something, right? Like if like you're inside somewhere, your legs get a little sweaty because you're sitting in a chair, and then like you get outside, your pants get cold, and then all of a sudden when you sit down, the backs of your pants touch the backs of your knees and the back of your thigh, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, and what all of a sudden starts happening, I start getting this little bit of a shake. I start getting a little bit of a shiver. And then all of a sudden, if I acknowledge it, or I don't like find a way to stop it right away, I go into like full blown, like my hands are shaking. I can't stop it. I'm like blowing. I'm like taking my beard and balling it up and blowing it in my face to warm it up.
Uncontrollable. You can't breathe.
No, it's not. And but what's weird now that it happened to me outside when it was like really cold, it literally just happened last night. I was walking downstairs from my office in the house, and the downstairs was just chilly compared to upstairs. And I got a random chill, like it hit my foot, and then all of a sudden my leg, and then all of a sudden I'm standing in the kitchen and I like just start shivering, and I like literally had to run to the coat closet, grab a puffy jacket, and throw it on in the damn kitchen to warm myself back up. I don't know what it is. Like my body has become like completely intolerable to cold whatsoever.
Yeah. In our furnace, it's in the room next to us. my goodness, that thing is working overdrive in this week. It is just, it's 24/7. I don't think it stops.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's like in the office here, we have electric baseboard heat, and this office was built in 83. So
Wow.
it is not insulated well, and it's 8,600 square feet.
I was gonna say it's a very large building.
It is a big space to heat with electric baseboards. Like if I don't do anything else in this building and I kept it at 62, which is not warm, um, it would be about $1,200 a month just to run the electric baseboard. If no lights were on, nothing in the building, no nothing. So like our baseline to keep it 62 in here is over $1,000. And then
Wow.
so what I did when we put in the central AC for like the first floor for Jill's shop, the production area, the shipping and receiving room, we ended up throwing in a heat strip into the air handler.
Okay.
And that thing does pretty damn well. Like the guy who put in the AC
Explain
didn't
that
do a
to
good
me.
job, but surprisingly, like my office, those two vents that are on the wall back there, they don't have dampers. They need dampers, but it gets warm up here in my office just from like this one little, coil that heats up. It does a pretty good job.
I've never heard of that. I mean, I can get the general idea of it, but it goes right in the duct, or
it goes in the air handler. So right where the air handler is blowing air over into the trunk,
Yeah.
right before the opening of the trunk, it's like this, it's about this big and it's got a, coil on it that goes across and it gets red hot and heats up in there. And it just blows air past that red hot coil, heats up the air. And it's a great way to get, some centralized, just to squeeze the breeze a little bit,
And that's with no furnace.
No furnace.
Wow, interesting.
This building has no furnace. It's electric baseboard. We're on well water, and so all we have is a water heater here. Like we have a pump that pumps well water up and a filter, and then after that, a water heater, and that is literally it from a heating anything up standpoint, aside from these damn electric baseboards.
I was just thinking that Banana Goat said that's how our units in Florida are usually set up for heat. That makes sense.
That makes sense in Florida.
Yep.
And like exactly, because if you have an air handler in Florida, you throw a heat strip in it. You don't need a heat pump, right? I don't even know if heat pumps would work down there with that humidity, like an inverter. I don't think inverters or heat pumps work down there.
Right.
But they I'm not sure though. If there's an HVAC guy out there, you're probably shaking your head like, Dr. Nick, clearly not that kind of doctor. Feel free to tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah, right. Interesting. Okay. All right. Well, everybody stay warm. And I do want to say thank you guys for most of you hanging out with us last night. I know all of you would if you could, but we held on to 200 plus people for over 2.5 hours, which is really kind of mind numbing to think about. And I was texting with Nick after the show and I was like, man, that just goes to show this company and the people and the quality and how much people really rock with Dr. Nick's. And again, just a small invite if you guys can just consider sharing this out, liking the stream. It's all appreciated. Now, Nick, you mentioned earlier, once a quarter, we do this Commands Corner. You get a bunch of inspiration. It's got to be good to hear. What were some of the themes or even like individual comments that really struck you and Jill the most? And then like any reason why those kind of stood out to you, or just any kind of feedback about the feedback you guys had? Because I spent a while last night and I wanted, because I feel like when people take the time to share it, I want to try to acknowledge it in the best I can. And there was a lot, and it seemed like a lot. So coming from the person that's creating it, that's putting in the work, putting in the risk, what stood out to you about what these people had to say about you, your company, and your products?
Well, I mean, there's a distinct standout, and I'm not sure if it stood out to you, but the way that people I'm saying this humorously, but I have a reason for it. The way that people are literally throwing fits about their support for Dr. Nick's is amazing. And what I mean by that is you can always tell the passion behind when someone's typing, about, they'll put something in caps or like they'll do something. What I noticed last night that really stood out, it was the repeating words in people's sentences, like I love this, whatever product it was, face wash. especially when they're describing their significant others doing it. People tend to use that repeating love more, which is interesting. Like my wife loves your face wash. And maybe that's because that's the way she says it to you guys. Like, oh my God, I love that Dr. Nick's face. I can hear it, right? But it just the passion, I guess, last night really stood out. And I guess what also stood out is a lot of people that I know are huge fans of us typically talk about what a big fan they are. And I feel like those people at this point know that we know, right? Like the people who are huge supporters and love what we do and are very vocal about it, we are very aware of those people. And I think those people are aware that we are aware. And so what they've started doing now is answering other people's questions more, making recommendations to people, and really, putting themselves and their name and their word out there to stand behind a recommendation for our products, which was huge. So I guess overall, I guess I noticed a tick up in passion. And I also noticed a tick up in people changing from letting us know how much they love what we do to letting other people directly in the chat know how much they love what we do and specifically what they love about it and what it is that they love. So, to me, those things are very different. And it all goes back to, again, everything that we experience with you guys are things that we can't pay you to do, right? We can't cause anyone here to directly cause anyone from, to go out and say that kind of stuff. That's stuff that you earn, right? You earn it, and you put the seeds in the ground and you do the work, and eventually things like that, like we saw last night, sprout, which is just awesome. And it just seems like, like the same bulb of like a lily or something, or like a tulip in your yard, it comes back stronger every year, and eventually you got this big ass flower. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Things like every Command's Corner, when that flower blooms, it's just bigger and brighter and stronger than it was before it went dormant for the season. It's
Yeah.
just it's great. I mean, so yeah, passion, it was just way up there, beyond what we've
100%.
seen before, I think.
Yeah, and it's almost gotten to the point where people are so passionate. They're like, I don't even know what I can say in the however many, what do we get, 160 characters or something like that. They're
Right.
like, I don't even know how to put it into this comment. It's just like, I couldn't be any more passionate about this company and their products and what they do. And it's just really cool. Like, I know companies or people throw us around, but it did seem like it was your family showing up. Like it was people that were
Oh,
like personally invested and just want this company to do the world because it's brought so much like happiness and joy and help to them, which sounds crazy, but it's just what it really felt like.
dude, it literally I mean, this group obviously feels like that because you guys are family. Like if I was on camera, in front of any other audience in the world, right, and I like misspoke, or like I say something stupid, or I stutter or do something else, like my back sweats a little, like my pits get a little sweaty, like I get that nerve thing that happens where it's like, don't sweat on your face, sweat everywhere
Yeah.
else. And I do that, and it's just I die silently inside doing public speaking. And like this feels very much like I'm sitting at the dinner table at Thanksgiving with, uncles, cousins, friends, family, where like I don't feel self-conscious in front of this group. I just don't. It's like I can say something stupid or space out and forget my point or whatever else, and I just say it. I'm like, oops, messed that one up, or oh God, yeah, senior moment, whatever it is. But like I don't, whatever I say is one thing, but I don't get the nerve reaction. Like I don't get like that panicky,
Yeah.
physical reaction to nerves with you guys.
Yeah, and if you guys know, that's because of you. Just so you guys realize, when we started this thing, he did for the first couple episodes.
Oh
It
yeah.
was, and I never worried for a second. I just literally was like, Nick, you're gonna crush it. Nick, I just want these people to get to know you. I just want them to hear you. I was like, I don't care what we talk about. And I've said this for a while. I feel like if you hear people talk for a couple of hours, you get a feel for who they are, no matter what you're talking about. And so that's huge, and why I wanted to make sure we did this show. And it's right here. Look at like Kev and Amber, and they said like this stream, this company is a big reason they're in the community. And I think it can show the best sides of the community and what we do here. And it's really, really cool. And it's because you guys make it fun. Look at Bucky right here. Now, I know he's probably watching the Champions League games in the background. Big soccer fan, me too. Killing me not to watch, but would rather be here. And he's talking to your mom. He's literally having a conversation in the chat with your mom. I got some beard oil too. It's a win-win. I can't wait. Like, where else? Just stop. Like, stop for a second and think about what other company do you get to directly interact with the owner, directly have questions, give feedback, but not only you get to interact with the owner's mom.
Just like, what's cool about that? I don't think this is impossible for other industries to do. Like, I really don't. I'm damn close to starting to do it with the software company and the cybersecurity side of the house. I really am. Because like
it makes sense.
People have questions that they don't feel like asking support sometimes. Like they don't want to, and once in a while, it's not even like they have a burning question, right? It's just like they want to hear conversation and they just want to discover more. But I feel like if imagine that, right? Like if every company to some extent in some reasonable forum and platform, of course, and moderated and everything else, had the ability for CEOs and founders and to be on YouTube in an open forum where anyone can join and ask them a question or hit them with a complaint or a suggestion, right? Like, granted, I'm sure at a certain size that's not possible, right?
There would be ways. Yeah.
There is. But I mean, just imagine what that would do. Like to, talk about transparency. Like, imagine if, you had Elon Musk sitting there on Tesla Livestream and like his mom, who we've all seen in the media quite a bit, seems like a wonderful lady. Imagine if she was in the chat and people were going back and forth. Granted, you'd have to moderate the hell out of it.
Right.
But just imagine if that existed, right? This like unfiltered, unscripted, not prompted, not edited, just ability to interact with your customers and your community.
And I think with the absolute domination of podcasts 2024, 2025, I think it shows that people just want real. They just want conversations. They just want to hear people and just understand them. And these companies, if we could, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's your pen company, your comb company. If you got to just sit down and talk with the people and ask questions and get feedback, I think that would change everything. And it just makes sense, especially if you're proud of the stuff, if you're proud of the people, like get it out there, put it in front of people. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's powerful, man. I mean, it obviously it's something to keep up on, but, and you know what it is too, is just, sometimes people get perception things in their head a little funny, or they get a question, and then just imagine the animosity or the resentment that could be avoided if you were able to just get that out and vent it out real quick and have someone be like, oh man, that's not at all our intention. Let me get an account manager to reach out to you so we can make that right.
Right. And then have
that.
them follow up and be like, well, what about this? Then you can explain yourself. You can be transparent. Right. People can see you. They can hear you. They can feel the intention. I really believe that would change a lot of things.
Like, dude, it would be huge. And, and it's just, it goes back to just trying to, fight the human nature of everyone feeling like everything's a secret and the things that you don't do are mysterious and those sorts of things. Yeah. And we have it's stuff like this too. I think like any little thing that we can do to put good in people's lives. Like I learned a terrifying fact this week about good experiences. And I think doing things like this that create good experiences that people can remember is so important, because our human nature is just fighting us every day, all day, every week to focus on exactly what we shouldn't be focusing on, which is the bad stuff and the dangerous stuff and the scary stuff.
My entire rant last night, they had an actual study that if you have 100 comments, they were like, how many negative would it take for that to be the lasting impact? Is essentially what they did. It was focus groups, and they gave all these comments, and then they waited. Like, okay, if we give 100 comments that are positive, the people walk away and they're still thinking very positive things. If there's 99 positive and 1 negative, people are still like, oh, that's 1 wacko. Who cares? We're still positive. Once it hit 2, you started to have people kind of like wavering, and it was official. At 3 negative comments, it outweighed 97 positive comments, which is crazy, but it's how we're programmed, right? Think
Yeah.
about relationships, you remember the worst. Think about like jobs, you remember the worst. Like that, you're the way you said it's so right. We're fighting that human nature every day.
Well, do you want to know why? I learned a really interesting little study that,
Yeah.
or just an interesting point of perspective, I guess, last week. There's a simple statement that describes it first, and we'll elaborate on it real quick here. But this is the statement to remember, and it sounds very bad, but it's not. And I guess is that you can make it through your whole entire life without ever remembering anything good. The same cannot be said for bad. And it's true. It boils down to our caveman instinct, right?
Yeah.
Danger, remembering danger kept you alive, right? Remembering that the lion will eat you kept you from getting eaten by the lion.
Correct.
So that was a thing where you had to remember the negative thing of dying by way of lion. Now, if hugs with the person that you share a cave with feel good, you're not going to die if you forget that hugs feel good tomorrow, right? So
Right.
hugs feel good, lion bad, right? And so that it's the primal part of our brains that are literally hardwired to remember the bad and the dangerous in order to hopefully keep us alive so we can do at the end of the day what our job is, which is live and procreate, right? And so
Yeah.
it's and so you can and so if you think about the initial statement again, you can make it through your entire life totally fine and safe without ever remembering anything good.
That's true.
So you have to intentionally bring that into your life. Like you have to find ways to bring, enrichment, enjoyment, and bring those sorts of things in, because if you just go based on your natural instincts, you're not going to have a good time.
That's so interesting. So interesting. All right, let's hit a couple of comments from the chat here, kind of all related. And Nate says, Dan, give yourself some credit. Every single time I've gone on screen with you, you make it easier to be on screen. And this is not even, you guys know I don't do false humble. That's not something that's like intentional. That's not something that is planned or anything. That's just literally me talking with friends and just being myself. And I only say that because of comments like Nick being worried to do this stream 2.5 years ago, or Todd, aka D Dot, saying, "Oh man, I'm trying to put out content for Beard so I can support them, but I get so nervous and I mess up and I don't put out videos, so I'm trying to be myself." When I say, man, just start. That everybody has some value to add. Just simply begin. You never know where it's going to go. I'll give you examples. There's a guy, he comes in here sometimes. He's been a customer of Dr. Nick's, Ben Taft. And Ben was a beard content creator. He had kind of started, I had put out a challenge with Scuba a couple of years ago to challenge people to create content. And we got some content creators out of it. It was really cool. And he was going along, nothing really kind of popped off in the beard world, but we got to talking. He was really passionate about kart racing, like not the ones that you actually ride in, but it's the small carts.
Yeah.
And he started making content on kart racing. Last month, he had more views than I do on my channel and had nearly as many subscribers gained and is killing it. And then when he was on the beard side of things, there would not have been 1/10,000th of the views I've got or the subscribers I got. But he took the skills. He just started with beards. All he had to do was learn how to start. All he had to do was learn how to get going. And then he transitioned into that. There's other people, right? Most know Jay Cruz in here. He has stopped beard content and he is now going into boxing content. And it's just starting, learning, putting yourself out there. And then you never know where those skills can be transferred and used again. So D-Dot, don't be nervous, man. There's no such thing as a mess up. Just roll with it, own it. And I promise you'll get more comfortable and it'll just become second nature, right? Because again, Nick, you were nervous at the beginning. And now when we get started, we don't even have like a talk of what we're going to say. We don't have a talk of like a pump up speech or anything like that. Did it just kind of happen? Like it just became comfortable and normal or what's kind of. something on that.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely becomes it like you said, it becomes comfortable and normal. I think something that really helped me too is realizing that people don't. I mean, I don't know if you're depending on what you're watching. Like if I'm watching a presentation about a new product, I probably don't want outtakes. But you know, if I'm watching someone's opinion on something and I'm watching someone talk about like their experience with something, I love when they have a mistake and they go to the little boop and they clip and it goes back to the screen and it's like boop and then they're laughing and then it goes back to them being serious. Like that's humanizing,
Yeah.
right? Like the things that you think right there, like D dot, like the stuff that you think is a mistake or the stuff you think is going to be nervous, keep those parts and put together a little blooper reel at the end and literally just like make fun of yourself for doing it. Because the best thing that I started doing is, and I do it when I come down from these streams now. When I first started doing these, I would wrap them up and be like, oh God, I wish I did that different. I wish I said this different. Like I wish, oh man, I forgot to answer that one question. And then like when I would come down now, Jill's like, how'd it go? I'm like, oh, pretty good. Oh crap. Oh, I meant to talk about this. Oh well, hit it next week.
Yeah.
And like it, it's just I'm not worried about it in the sense that like I found that the mistakes are typically things that take things into a direction that they might not have gone had I planned it. And it is one of those things where I will say, people can tell when you're sticking exactly to a script, and people can tell when you're just kind of winging it. And
100%.
oddly enough, people like it when you wing it. Like I don't like watching overproduced stuff.
Nope, not
Like,
at all.
I like watching raw and real, and I want to see people's opinions, and I want to see them mess up, and I want to see them accidentally take a sip and spit out water and keep it at the end of the video. Like I love that stuff. It's my favorite parts of videos. So I guess my point of my long-winded answer here is try flipping the script in your head a little bit. Like start thinking of the things that are to you imperfections. Start thinking of those as your uniqueness, right? Start thinking of those as things that are going to make people identify with you and be like, oh man, I do that all the damn time. I love this guy.
Yep.
Like that's what I sit there and think when I watch that stuff.
I forget what video it was, but in the last week I had a video where I'm going, and the thing I'm talking about, I full out like bobble because my ADHD and I got to fidget, and it drops it on the ground in the middle of filming. I didn't stop, I didn't cut, I didn't do some jump edit or anything like that. Oh yeah, they're canceling school for tomorrow already. Wow.
Oh, sweet.
Right. Yeah, no school.
Lashings will continue until morale improves.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had a full day of work planned.
No big deal.
Oh, that's so good. Okay.
Yeah.
But I dropped it. All I did was pick it up, laughed about it, and then in the comments, several people were like, "Nice catch, dude. I caught that." And it's like, yeah, like I'm not some like robot. It happened. I'm gonna roll with it. I'm not gonna act like I'm perfect up here because I'm not. And so I agree. Embrace it. Go with it. And he says, see, I used to be a video game streamer on Twitch, but I still was nervous and it was bad. Dude, I doubt it. And it's all relative. Go look at my intro video. Go look at my first couple reviews, right? Objectively, we would say it's bad, but it got started. The passion was good. The info was good. It's just, there's just a bunch of different aspects on it. So yeah, absolutely. Lots of nipples. You never know when the nipples come out either, too. So
you never know. You never know.
And G Squared had a cool comment. He said, my dad, who has a great beard, shaved it last year for health and upkeep reasons. I had stopped persuading him to use heat. Last week, he said he's growing it out again and plans to use a blow dryer. That's really cool. And that's his dad, right? We're talking generational. That's cool. So cool. 70 years old. And he talked about the butter, and he said it's unmatched. Nice. And it was Dr. Nix. He didn't know the name, but he was like, this one is unmatched. That's really cool.
See, I love that. And like, oh God, talking about that too. I gotta throw some ideas out at the group here about butter. There's just so many things people are using this for. Yeah. Like this butter, like the feedback we get from this butter from you guys is nuts. Like, we had someone that was just speaking to another friend of ours about them. They use it, and he's like, I started using it when I had like dry spots. I had like elbows and like knees and things like that. And he's like, he's like, you know what was weird? He's like, I used to feel old because my knees. He's like, I'd wear shorts and I'd literally feel old because my damn knees. He's like, they're wrinkly, they're ugly, they're ashy, they're bad. And he's like, they dry, they crack. He's like, I got the knees of a 10-year-old Rottweiler that's been living outside on a patio for his whole life. And and he's like, and so I started using it when it would crack open and they'd get bloody. And he's like, and then I just started using it all the time. And then I started using it in like backs of my hands, and I'd just be like, oh, well, I'll hit my knees, but then I got some extra, so I'll hit my elbows and just the backs of my hands real quick here. He's like, he says that he literally feels 10 years younger because of the lack of broken, blistered, just cracked, dry skin on his elbows and knees.
Yeah.
He's like, I shouldn't feel younger because of the condition of my knees, unless we're talking about joints. And he's like, but I do, and it's amazing.
Yes. It's so true. And the feedback again is just incredible. Yep, incredible. And one aspect of butter on the skin, and Jill mentioned butter being better for skin, like on your body, is, and I'm an oil guy. I just don't like heavier things staying on my skin as far as like the whole body. But the one big difference of butter and oil is butter actually hydrates. Oil does not hydrate, but there is hydration and hydrating from butter. And when you look at Dr. Nick's, I believe, I've never found one and I've searched, I do not believe that there's another blend on this planet that uses the same butters all together that Dr. Nick's does.
There
And
is.
so you're not only getting hydration and quality ingredients, you're getting this hydration from several different sources, including butters you just don't see in this industry or in any industry paired together. And that kind of seems like where the magic is coming from.
I mean, to me, Jill nailed it with the butter formula, and she literally she spent a long time on it, but she did not start with another base or another formula as an idea. I mean, she literally did start that from the ground up, and completely wax free and no emulsifiers, which is crazy,
Right?
Which, by the way, I will point something out talking about products, things in general. We'll come back to butter here in a second. Jill pointed out the other day when someone else was asking us about our deodorant process and how our all natural deodorant's going. One of the ones that Jill started using really early on in her journey of natural deodorant, getting away from aluminum based deodorants, was Lumi. And the woman who started Lumi is a chemist, worked in the cosmetic industry. And she says in one of the commercials, it's like in the commercial for Lumi, it took her 10 years to develop it. It took her 10 years on the side working with different formulations and things. And this is as a chemist.
Yeah.
It took her 10 damn years.
Wow.
And it's because she said she just wanted to make something different that worked. Right. And so I think we're down to like 4 key ingredients that have been working across a number of different delivery mechanisms and formulas. And I think those 4 ingredients are going to be the absolute key to ours. As you know, we've talked about the microbes, we've talked about lots of cool stuff, and now there's another potentially from Hawaii ingredient that might be being added into it that seems to be working really, really well. Something I just have to keep in mind when I'm testing all natural deodorants is they're not antiperspirants. So you're still going to get you're going to get wet bits sometimes, but the trick is that you just don't want stinky wet bits.
Right, you're supposed to. That's a human function.
You're supposed to sweat. And so anyway, back to the butter, it's like you look at the little things that have truly popped out of Dr. Nick's that no one else has done the way we've done them, and the butter is definitely one of them.
Yep.
The sanitizer, when we bring that back, and the on the go cleanser, that's definitely one of them. A balm stick, balms being in a stick instead of a tube. I think that's really unique. I think there's 1 or 2 others out there doing that now, though. But I think they're, speaking to that and the butter and all of this, the naming, keep it coming. I'm not sold on magic butter. I'm not sold on miracle butter. And it's simply because I don't want it to sound cheesy, right? But then again, you go back to our roots, right? Dr. Nick's amazing man stuff, miracle butter. I mean, that 1000% is on brand. So very, very, very on brand. But I guess my goal is that I now find that I would bet that 20% of the skin that our beard butter goes on is not around or under a beard.
Yeah.
You know, and so it just does it a disservice to call it beard butter, because here's my thought. People that are looking for a butter that can nourish and condition your skin, your hands, your elbows, your scalp are not going to look for or resonate with beard butter. But people that are looking for beard butter, I think will resonate just fine with something that's called butter without the word beard in front of it, right?
If it's tough, because if
So
they're
like, yeah, and then here's my second. Throw one more little piece into your brain there.
Yep.
To give you a full rounded response is, I also don't want to do the thing that is the obvious choice that any branding company in the world would tell me to do, which would be to rebrand a separate package and put the same stuff in it and call it something different. And that's what every other company in the world would do, right?
Yeah,
You would come out
right
with a
there.
new, yeah, for SEO purposes, make 2 listings, even if they are the same exact ingredients. And so that's fine. You know, but I guess my struggle is, I don't, for some reason to me that feels misleading.
Yeah, well, let me hit you here. So it's tough.
I don't know why.
There's no right answer, and this will give you guys kind of a peek behind the scenes in planning with a beard product company. So there's challenges on all fronts. For me, I think at this time, beard butter is the only option, and I'll explain why. Something like Miracle or Magic, you're in an industry that is Leo, yeah, Scuba did. I did a video on that as well. Different. So women's products have different IFRA ratings as far as body. So something that is intended for the body, like a women's body butter, is not always safe for the beard. Usually it's not. They can have higher levels of fragrances, which can be much more dangerous. Also, the women's industry for body products is far, far less quality and consistency as compared to small batch. But we're in an industry that is plagued by the concept of snake oil. We're in an industry that has already the like side eye. Is this a scam? Is this real? Then we also get companies. I was just answering comments today about the Beard Club, who has a beard growth oil, 100% guaranteed. They sign you up for a subscription when you buy it, and you have to manually cancel it even though you didn't realize you were signed up. We're working against that. We're working against Old Spice. We're working against generations of people taking advantage of people. So people are going to immediately, that don't, and we're speaking to the people that don't know this community or this company. If they see Miracle or Magic that's being portrayed in marketing, they're going to be turned off. Now, on the other side of things, we have a pretty good case study, Beard Brand, that said, hey, our products are more than just beards. We have people using it on everything. We're going to call it utility butter or utility oil, and it's dang near killed their company if it hasn't killed their company, because your base that is finding this is beards. So I get the idea that someone that wants to use beard butter would not be turned off by the idea of using butter, but the keyword you said was looking. People looking, nobody would find that. If it's a woman, it's not a big enough company to find it in SEO. If it's beards, if you don't have beard attached to it, they can't find it. So just again, guys, these are the discussions that happen, and it's like so difficult. And the key thing is Google. How do you get people that are looking for this product that would help their life? How do they find it? And then how do you not limit it to just beards? How do you not just limit it to just women? It's tough. And again, so right here, right? Full body butter. No one with a beard would be able to find that.
No.
Dr. Nick's Everything Butter, again, and even Dr. Nick's Beard Brand even had a little bit more of an advantage because their company name was
had beard in it.
Yes.
Right.
And it still failed miserably for them.
And it's because, and it's so obvious looking at it too. Like as a case study, trust me, I get his motivation. We've said the name Beard Brand in here a bunch of times now. So we're going to pop up on transcripts and they're going to find themselves in our transcript, in our video. And just so you, and if anybody ever comes and says, I wonder why they're talking about me, don't think that I'm like, silly people. No, I would have never done that.
Get it.
Dude, completely logical, right? Yes. Like it's more than beard oil. So call it something that leads you to believe it's more than beard oil. But unfortunately, look at how bad that got screwed up, literally by not the market, but the overarching powers that dictate our entire lives and business right now, which is Google.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And I think,
Let
yep,
butter sell it, and that's what we're doing, Jason.
yep.
And that's what it does, and that's why people's kids are in chemotherapy or using it on their heads. And there's like people that are having dermatologists are saying like, "What did you do? Like, how did you fix this?" And they're like, "I
Yes.
put beard butter on it." And they're like, "You put a what in the where?"
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And so this is what we talk about, guys. This is the stuff we go in circles about, whether it's me and Nate, whether it's Nick, whether anybody. It's so interesting to think because these companies do know that their products can help people. And so it's about how do you find the way to make sure people have this as an option so it finds them. And so, yeah, and you guys saying things like magic butter, miracle butter, that never came from Nick. That just came from responding to you guys. That's the way it gets out there with word of mouth. That's the way it really builds up. And then the other thing that we're doing is we do have to battle stigmas, right? And Channing brings up a good point. She says beard and body butter. Even with that, there's going to be a segment of the beardsmen that write it off. And they're like, I don't want beard and body butter. I want beard butter. And so we have the burden of this industry is education. We have
Right.
such a new industry. We have such a kind of black eye industry of the snake oil, of the scams and that type of stuff. The burden is of the education. And luckily, we have a bunch of people that are really adamant on trying to make that education happen.
Well, yeah. And that's what's going to save it, right? I mean, that makes it right there. It makes all the difference in the world.
Yep. And Nate's right. He says making good products is only half the battle. He said mostly like 5%. And I kind of ranted about that recently about companies doing the poor me. My products are great. Why doesn't anybody find me and all this stuff? Hey, we are now at a time, especially in this industry, where having good products is baseline. That's not what makes it. That's baseline. Everything else really matters from that point. How are you marketing? How are you getting in front of people with live streams? How are you giving back to the community? Like we could go on and on and on, but it's interesting. And if this stuff sounds interesting to you guys and you like thinking about this, hey, you might be a prospective entrepreneur and business owner. Just got to find what you're passionate about, where you can add value to people's lives, and try going in on it and see what you can do.
You might be in the right place. If any of this stuff sounds cool to you, if anything sounds like, hey, I think about those things, you might be in the right place. You never know.
And Brett says, Nick, on the idea of streaming your tech company, be the new Leo. I don't know who this is. Everyone in the chat did. Is it
Leo Laporte? Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know who that is. Tech TV.
Yeah, he's the dude from Tech TV. God, I'd be like the bearded Leo. It would look like I ate him and used his protein to strengthen my beard growth game.
Jeez. And have you watched last night's Kill Tony yet at all?
No, I was hanging out with you guys last night, so I didn't watch Kill Tony yet.
I played it in the shower, and so I was just listening to it, and there's like a funny bit about protein. I'll wait till you get to that part. But and this is kind of what this all comes down to. Amber says, I'm gonna be a little sappy. It's so weird how so much has changed for us this last year. The people we've met online have changed our lives. I cannot even explain it. You don't have to. Because there's two people on the screen that fully understand the brevity of what you're saying right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And everything happens for a reason. And none of that's a mistake,
Right.
And none of the people that you've met were there on accident.
Yep.
Right. It's and by the way, Kev,
page.
Like I heard you talk about Kev's beard last night and then seeing it in his thumbnail there. I mean, I better see you at Worlds. I mean, that's a if you entered that category Dan talked about last night, what, 3 to 6?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a national champion 3 to 6 beard right there, dude. Like, remember the guy who won Best in Show when I took home gold with the what style of beard was that?
Oh my gosh,
the round one, bowling.
Yes.
Bowler something. I almost want to say.
Oh my God, dongle. Shoot, something. Yes,
that's not it. It's you have that kind of shape, dude, and that guy took home Best in Show. I mean, it's a unique color, unique shape. Fucking looks good.
Oh, Garibaldi.
Yep. That's what that's like a Garibaldi in the makings right there.
See how good I am? I said 3 to 6. He's at 5.5. 5.5 wins that category.
Oh, 5.5 wins that all day.
Yep. But yeah, his beard is uncomfortably nice. Like I've
Oh,
had him
dude.
on Beard Device Live on like a big screen. It's uncomfortable.
Oh, killing
Yeah.
it.
And Nate's
Absolute
right.
killing it.
Nate's always on the same. We're like a triangle. He's the same wavelength as us, and he says, "Amber, that's because you're a good person and have to be open to it. This community has forever changed. Mine too. That's it. Yep, that's it. And okay, and also with this said too, where did it go? I had another comment here. Oh yeah, and also guys, we have been rate hovering at 50 people this whole time. That's an unbelievably awesome stream for us. So thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for coming over. We're live every Tuesday. We just love talking. We love going over random things. And it would not be right to have a show with new people and good numbers here if we did not end with a little random wheel of tangents. And I introduced, some people were like, a cracker what last night? Yeah, there's a cracker nasty on this wheel. And so we're going to leave it up to fate, you guys, on this one. This is what we do. Sometimes we spend a whole stream doing this. Sometimes we spend 10 minutes. Sometimes I know. I wanted to do more of this, but there's like no way you can stop the momentum of what we had going. It's just beautiful. And that's what we love. There's no, as Nick said earlier, there's no script. There's no agenda. We're just talking. We're connecting with you guys.
This always goes fast, but that did not feel like 50 minutes.
No,
that is BS.
I couldn't even tell you 4 topics we talked about because it just went that fast. Oh, man. Yeah, Jerry Mack said Houston has 5 inches of snow. Yep, it's cold here. Yep,
Dude,
is
that's
cold
weird.
here.
Remember when they were setting records and they were talking about it last night? Like the coast of Texas, someone was saying they were setting records with like the last time something had happened was 1960.
60.
I thought of a really interesting question that I looked over and asked Jill. And this is not meant to be completely snarky and cynical about the world. I looked over and I was like, oh, it did that in 1960, huh? I was like, I wonder what they blamed it on back then.
Yeah, right.
I wonder what was going on in 1960 where they were like, you see?
Yep. must be people in those like small dogs they got as new pets. Why we got all these little ankle biters? Yeah, something.
You know, if Poison and all those bands had happened yet, I would have said they blamed it on Hairspray. But Jill was, you know, the CFCs weren't the thing yet. That was such a 70s thing.
Again, Nate's on the same blade. Like he's like, Nick, you didn't go there.
Oh, I did. First thing, I'm like, I wonder what they blamed it on back then. Shouldn't have those thoughts, and if I do, I should keep them inside.
Nick's like, I'm a company owner. But that's why we're here, guys. That's that transparency. This is just people talking. And why can't we just talk? You know, like I'm never gonna give in to not being able to just talk and just be able to share these things. So,
boom. Hey, they were testing nukes like they were going out of style.
That's true. I
mean, that's that's a real good point.
Yep. All right. You ready to give this bad boy a spin?
Oh, let's hit it.
Rabbit holes. Oh, we love rabbit holes. That's what we do. Let's go ahead and click this hole. Wow.
Oh, we'll chase them.
Yeah. Oh, well, yep. Watch out. Okay. So we have, it's close. Boom. Okay.
What type of stud are, okay. what type of student were you?
All right. Nick, you go first if you got it locked and loaded here. Student, middle school, high school, what kind of student would you describe yourself with?
That's a nasty question. You're a nasty person. Whoever wrote this was a mean-spirited individual. I grew up, for those of you who don't know, we figured it out here on the stream. I've lived in 32, I think, houses, or 34. Now I forget.
I was going to say 4, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like 11 states all over the damn place. So I was perpetually the new kid, kind of all over the place with schools, right? I would move from Missouri to Florida and the school system would be different. I'd move to Colorado and they'd be way ahead. I'd move to California, they'd be behind. I'd move to Hawaii and they'd be even further behind. So bounced around a bunch in elementary school and it was all blur. It was probably just trying to stay alive. And middle school was on Maui and Kauai. End of elementary school, I guess, beginning of middle school, and then kind of transitioned into what was the beginning of high school. I was a terrible student. I'll just be perfectly honest. I wasn't made for school. And it's just my head immediately, like 6th, 7th grade hit, and I was ready to go do stuff. And I started to. I did. I was like ready to roll. I wanted to go real bad. You know, As I got into high school, that got worse. I became like a professional procrastinator, and I relied heavily on my ability to talk my way out of just about anything, and including failing classes and bad grades and absences and everything else. I definitely didn't. If I spent half the time looking at a book as I did in my own head, trying to figure out how I was going to talk my way out of something, I probably would have been a great student. But I ended up leaving high school early, and in 10th, well, I guess technically it was down in Florida, so that was after 9th grade in Newton, so 10th grade down in Florida. And I left to go work for America Online, and then that worked, transitioned over out into the Valley, going to work for Cisco, and started kind of working with Homeland Security and Department of Defense and those guys out there. And I just got busy. I wanted to go back to college, but by the time I was ready to go take college classes, I was teaching them at the university that I ended up wanting to go to.
Wow.
And it was just one of those things where I was, to answer the question bluntly, like I said in the beginning, I was a terrible student. And the reason for it really wasn't anything malicious. It's more just like I was one of those people that was just so heavily rooted in talking about and thinking about ideas and thinking about like what could be. I had a really hard time learning about things that had already happened and learning about the way things were. I just did. And that's a personality defect. Like, that's not a good thing to hope for. Like, one of my business partners told me a long time ago that he reminds me of the end of Fear and Loathing, where Hunter S. Thompson tells Dr. Gonzo that there he goes, one of nature's very own prototypes, a high-powered mutant of some sort, never even considered for mass production. And he's like, dude, if the world had more than like 4 of you, nothing would ever get done. He's like, we'd all just be sitting around talking about what we could do and then going off and doing it, and we wouldn't notice what anybody else was doing ever, and we wouldn't benefit from it. So I was a challenge. I feel for myself, having a lot of me and my son, because I'm seeing the same problems kind of pop up with him in school, and I'm just bracing for impact as he's 12 years old, going into 6th grade, middle school, and getting into high school. But it was, man, academics were not me.
Mine was almost identical to Rob's here. At that time, undiagnosed ADHD. I was fine in school. I mainly was because of sports. You could not play sports if you didn't have decent grades. So Julie says, feel for your mom. For
Sorry,
this,
Mom.
I had like a ratio. I was smart, right? Still, you guys know my brain works. And so I had a ratio. If I had to work substantially harder to get an A, I didn't do it. I took the B. B was about my limit. I could do nothing to get B's in every class for the most part. And so if I had to work a lot harder for an A, I wouldn't do it. If I only had to work a little bit harder for an A, I would. And so I had like a perfect mix of A's and B's. I never studied. I never did homework. I just simply was jumping through hoops. And that's carried on to college. That was just something until I really found what I enjoyed studying, which I've read more research on beards in 6.5 years than I ever did in 4 years of high school, 4 years of undergrad, 2 master degrees. I read way more research on beards than any of those times combined. And so I was good. I was friendly with everybody, but I just never really tried that much. It was not like a goal for me to get A's. I didn't really care about that. It was a means to an end. I needed to play sports. I needed to get a degree. I needed to get a certificate. And as long as I could get those things, I was fine. And that was kind of my route.
Yep.
All right, let's see if we can get one more in here. Super, super quick. We're short time, but we got to give people one more at least. No, just not at least. One more, because we're running out here. But let's see what we got for, no, it's not. And we can punt if you need to, but if you have one.
I have a quick one. Just in case this happened, I've had a really good quick one kind of lined up.
Yes, let's do it.
Cracker Nasty time. All right, so for anybody who doesn't know, we'll recap. Cracker Nasty is a nickname of a friend of mine down in Florida. Very good dude, who eventually will be on the stream here with us. Assuming he doesn't get too offended by all the things we've said about him thus far.
I don't think so.
No. So Cracker Nasty used to run a estuary of sorts. He ran a hatchery for a freshwater tropical fish company. And so they would do really cool tropical fish, freshwater fish. And so they had their big, incubator rooms and like their hatchery rooms and all this kind of stuff. And one of the places where they have to, take, I guess it's part of the process of when when there's, baby fish, they have like these big styrofoam coolers, right? So you got these big ass, 50 gallon, just regular styrofoam coolers, but they're just very specialized because they're huge, like coffin size, coolers. And they used to get dents, in the top of them if you'd like put stuff on them. So there's all kinds of stuff says you can't do it. And so one day, Cracker Nasty goes in there and he sees a can of Coca-Cola sitting on top of the cooler. Now, what you got to understand about this can of Coca-Cola is that it could have only been put there by one person. And if Cracker Nasty wasn't good enough of a name for you, Carrie's employee at the time was a guy that was from the town that this was in Gibsonton, Florida, and his name was Cool Breeze. So Cool Breeze was an old OG dude. If you think in your name like someone's slapping your hands and you're like, "What's your name?" "I'm Nick," and he's like, "Cool Breeze, baby." Picture that person in your head. You nailed it. I promise. So Carrie in his head, he's like, damn it, Cool Breeze, putting your cans on top of the damn cooler. So he goes into the office. It's a Monday. Office is full of people. Everyone's managers are in there. Salespeople are in there. And Cracker Nasty walks in and he looks across the room and he sees Cool Breeze and he's like, "Cool Breeze, I found your Coke on top of the damn cooler in the hatchery." And Cool Breeze, without skipping a beat, says, "Oh, hell no, boss. No, you didn't. I've been off of that stuff for 5-6 years now. I promise. I haven't touched any of that Coke. Ever since you guys hired me, I haven't touched it." And Carrie's like, Cool Breeze, stop. Coca-Cola was on the cooler. And he's like, oh man, now everybody knows and he just like walks off. And then his dad, of course, just to sum it all up, looks over at Cracker Nasty and goes, "Cool Breeze didn't just give us any new information. He just confirmed what everyone was thinking about maybe how Cool Breeze got here." And
oh my gosh.
Anyway, Coke from a can, not from a baggie. It was just the funniest misunderstanding for someone that like clearly in their heads that word was ingrained to mean something different than what it means to us with soda.
Dude, I didn't know we could get a side quest character of Cool Breeze within the Cracker Nasty universe.
Oh, we haven't even gone into Lobster Boy's sister that works down the road at the sandwich shop. We haven't talked about any of the carnies. We haven't talked about, we haven't talked about the little people. There's a lot. There's a whole bunch. There's a lot to unpack here in Gibsonton, Florida. That's just our little view into Gibsonton / Riverview, Florida in Hillsborough County. So you're welcome for your dose of the day.
I think we do need to book Cracker Nasty like officially on the show.
We do. I need to get on it. Every time we text, we just start talking about stupid stuff and about what we're doing, and then he has to go, and then I always forget to ask. So I will text him today.
Can you confirm or deny that Cool Breeze had a dog named Cold Beer?
So no, CB was not Cool Breeze's dog. That was Ryan's dog out in California. Who he adopted that dog. And one day someone came into the shop and he hadn't named him yet. I said, "What's your dog's name?" He's like, "I don't know. He hasn't told me yet." And so he's like, "I'll tell you what, that dog's cooler than a cold beer." And he walks out. And my buddy's like, "Cold beer. CB. Yeah, your name's CB. Cool." So the dog's name was CB, Cold Beer.
Amazing. All right, guys, that is the random wheel of tangents. There will be more next week. We'll spend some time on that wheel. We'll spend some time on this because there's just so much going on in this brain over here. We switched sides. All right, let's get back to normal. That was uncomfortable. All right, we're back. There's so much in this brain over here, guys. So stay tuned for that. And again, hey, thank you guys for coming over. This was, for us, a really good, really big show, and it just always feels good. I'm not going to lie and say it doesn't feel good to have bigger numbers, so thank you. If you haven't, check to see if you hit that thumbs up. We hope that you guys are here next week. Hope you check out their Instagram, and above all, just stay bearded, but also to kind of leave you with, we had some people kind of talking about the itch to make content, the itch to be drawn towards being an entrepreneur. just start. You have no idea where
Do
it
it.
can go. And maybe that is the first chapter of a beautiful book that you get to write. And that's the origin story. You have no idea. My life changed when Sam said, you should make videos. I think you'd be good at it. So just something to consider, just to put that out there. If you're kind of looking side eye right now, just start. That's it. I'll kick it over to Nick to take it off.
Oh man, go do it. And when you do, tag us in it because we'll
Yeah.
help you get it out there.
Yep.
Because that's what we do. So always willing to help out there. Just again, it's one of those things where like it's all about experience. Still waters don't make strong sailors. So go out there, make some mistakes, get some scars and some bruises, figure out what you like and you don't, and do it again different.
Yep.
But hey, this is awesome. Thank you so much again for awesome Commands Corner last night. It was amazing. You guys showed up in force as always, and we will be back. Next week's going to be the 28th, episode 126, 1 o'clock, regular time, January 28th, the last one of January. So let's close out January with something strong. And remember, fight against your own human nature this week. Find things that are positive and try to think about those longer than you think about the things that annoy you. And hey, maybe you'll lose a couple of points off your blood pressure or something. I know I did.
There you go. All right, guys, we will see you next week. Please